Hey, it's John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and it's The Entrepreneurial You, the show for dedicated and passionate Caribbean entrepreneurs seeking daily inspiration, brought to you by author, speaker, and award-winning entrepreneur Heneka Watkis-Porter. You must be prepared to ignite.
We needed to raise capital, but our experience with local financial institutions was that they were cautious and slow to act, and interest rates were far too high. We had real concerns about financing our business through outside equity investors and the possibility of interference. Could we get a fair valuation for our business? We had our own ideas about the business and its value. Should I go the traditional route of bank financing, or should I try the Jamaica Stock Exchange? So we made a call and experienced transformation of our business through conversations. I'm John Mafood, CEO of Jamaican Teas, and we're listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Give us a call today at 876-967-3271 to begin your transformation through conversation. We want to see your company listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Coming up on this episode of The Entrepreneurial You.
Specifically, what we did is, for the previous 2 years that I had started TrueFan in, before starting TrueFan, I was very much networking. I was getting out there in the community. I was meeting people. I actually interviewed a lot of our investors on a LinkedIn publication that I started called Unconventional. So I wrote about their story. I wrote about their life story, wrote about the advice they would give young people, started to build a relationship with them that way. And so, our round that we did was a mix between institutional, whether it's around 13 Capital or New Avenue Capital that came on board. But it was also a mix of them and angels. And those angels weren't just NBA players. They were friends and family members that we got in and got 20,000 each from each of them. So that's kind of the way that we went about preparing for the round. We deeply networked for the last, 3-4 years.
Greetings, my amazing peak performer. How are you doing today? Well, I want to say welcome to episode 140 of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. I'm your host, Heneka Watkis-Porter. Today's episode is with Swish Goswami, and he is the CEO of TrueFan. And TrueFan is a social intelligence platform that helps over 80 of the world's biggest brands and celebrities sell directly to their top fans. TrueFan has raised over $1 million to date from several NBA players and venture firms, and has clientele that notably includes visionary music group Hootsuite and Dwayne Wade. So before running TrueFan, Swish consulted for Fortune 500 companies like Western Union and worked at JB Fitzgerald Venture Capital. I am looking forward to having a conversation with Swish on the topic of choosing the right investor for your business. Welcome, Swish.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Now, have you ever had any Jamaican food, any Jamaican interaction, anything Jamaican at all?
Not really. No, I have a Jamaican friend who plays basketball with me every Sunday, but that's about it.
That's about it. Oh, we need to step your Jamaican game up just a little notch,
100%.
Yeah,
100%. I'm a huge cricket fan, and my brother, when we were growing up, we got to go to Jamaica. So that was pretty awesome.
Okay, and do you have you have Indian heritage, right?
I do. Yep.
Oh, great. And because I love India too, and India is very big on cricket as well, so we have something there that's mutual appreciation. So all right, let's get into this conversation that we're going to focus on, just talking about investment, what we need to do, how we need to prepare our companies, and how to choose the right investor for our businesses. So I want to find out from you a little though about just a summary of your life, because there's just so much I did not say about you in the intro. You're a TED speaker, you've had a sneaker deal with K-Swiss, and just so many amazing things that has been going on for you. So just a little summary of your background and transition it into all the various things that you've been able to accomplish?
For sure. Yes, my co-founder, Anik, and I, we decided to create TrueFan about a year and a half ago. We're approaching 2 years now, December 7th. And both of us are very much looking forward to helping brands connect with their top customers a lot more. So trying to understand them, trying to be able to know where they come from, what are they talking about, what do they like, and giving that sort of information in the form of data to brands so that they can act on it. That's kind of been my background too for a while now. So before this, I was working in a bigger social media company called Dunk. My roommate in New York, when I lived there for a year, had created this really massive account called @Dunk, @DUNK on Instagram. And he started that in 2013, grew that to about 2.2 million followers. And I was able to come on and help him more on the business end. But that was something that was really cool because it gave me an inside look into influencer marketing. It gave me an inside look into how brands are communicating with their customers, how they're trying to appear as an individual now more than ever because they want their customers to have a relationship with them even after they leave a store. So it was really cool because it was timely. We created TrueFan based off Dunk, based on the experiences we had at that company. And then my co-founder, who at the time was at Stanford University studying data science and engineering, was someone that I knew since I was like 16 years old. And he was the person that I really wanted to create this project with because he was someone that brought not only a really, really great technical understanding of the product that we're trying to build, but he's also very, very acclimatized with the business world because he started an app when he was really young that became very viral.
So in just 2 years, you have accomplished so many, that company has accomplished so many, feats. The most notably I want to talk about is that raising over $1 million. Of course, for my Jamaican fans, we're talking about US dollars right here. Raising over $1 million in investment capital. How did you prepare your business for investment? That's what we want to know first and foremost.
Yeah. So from our angle, specifically what we did is for the previous 2 years that I had started TrueFan in, before starting TrueFan, I was very much networking. I was getting out there in the community. I was meeting people. I actually interviewed a lot of our investors on a LinkedIn publication that I started called Unconventional. So I wrote about their story. I wrote about their life story, wrote about the advice they would give young people, started to build a relationship with them that way. And so, yeah, our round that we did was a mix between institutional, whether it's a round 13 capital or a new avenue capital that came on board. But it was also a mix of them and angels. And those angels weren't just NBA players. They were friends and family members that we got in and got 20,000 each from each of them. So that's kind of the way that we went about preparing for the round. We deeply networked for the last, 3-4 years. And then beyond that, I don't think we really set a high threshold to get involved in the round. It wasn't like you needed a minimum of $50,000 to get involved. We set the threshold at about 20,000, and I think most people that are high net worth individuals, they're able to take 20,000 if they believe in a project and they believe in you and put it aside.
That is interesting. And you talked about the fact that you network extensively for a while, because I think part of the challenge of seeing, with businesses seeking investment is that they just kind of start to, I don't want to say nag, but perhaps nag potential investors the moment that they want to have, investors in their business, as opposed to that long-term game of doing the networking, doing the groundwork that is absolutely necessary to make it happen.
Right. Yeah. No, 100%. So yeah, for us, like I started networking way before that, and it was way before I even had thought about TrueFan, right? And the reason I did that wasn't because I knew that eventually I wanted to create a startup and raise money. It was just because I knew that early on, if I have a strong network, whether it's a new job that I want or an opportunity I want, it's very easy to go back on that network and ask for help and ask questions and get advice and be able to really accelerate my career a lot faster. So we did that, and that was a huge benefit, but it didn't happen overnight. That network was not built in one day or 1 week. It was built more in the span of 2-3 years that led up to then starting TrueFan and being able to go back to that network and raise money.
Right. And another thing that you also mentioned, which is worthy of, reiterating, is the fact that the threshold that you had in place was not very high. So indeed, as you mentioned, that any high net worth individual would be able to, as long as they found value in connecting with the product, connecting with the service, then it wouldn't be difficult for them to come on board.
And that's very important, I think, because I know a lot of founders, when they go to raise around a 500,000 or $1 million, a lot of times they go and try to raise it from one or two people. And that actually means that the terms that you want to raise on likely will not be accomplished because you're only going to one or two people and you're not getting many people giving you advice or giving you their thoughts on what the valuation should be or how much you should be raising. But B, it's really, really hard, I think, these days to find someone to put in 500,000 or $1 million all up front, especially in the early stages of your company. So if you go to multiple people and you ask them for $20,000 or $25,000 each, it's a lot smarter in terms of getting your way, because you're probably dealing with people that are friends and family, and they want to see the best for you, so they're willing to invest on the terms you want. But B, they're putting in a smaller check, which means you're able to raise that amount a little faster.
Mm-hmm. All right. So going that route, as opposed to, trying to get so much money, like everything from one, investor, going that route, what kind of a, return were they looking for? And also, how did you determine, this person I'm going to take on board as opposed to, I won't consider having this investor? What were you looking for in the investor?
Yes, I mean, early on, we weren't very picky about the investors we brought on. Honestly, we were just trying to raise the initial 500,000 so that we could go and continue with the project and pay people a salary and move development a lot faster. However, I think nowadays, where we're at right now, we're very picky about who we bring on. We're looking for people that are strategic, so they have connections in the industry, marketing and advertising, or they run a company that we think TrueFan can very much be applied for. Or they bring some very great extensive knowledge on raising money, starting a company, scaling a company. So we're very, very picky on how we pick people. And then, in terms of the return that most of these investors were looking for, honestly, in the early round, a lot of them weren't really looking for a return. A lot of them were just doing this because they thought it would be awesome to be in business with Anik and I, and they liked Anik and I, and they wanted to go about meeting us, talking to us, and then being able to stay in touch through the investment. So it was pretty neat.
Mm-hmm. So then you have the advantage of your position that you started from. So you see how that worked and you're where you are today. And now I want to ask you to go back to the question a little deeper. So now you're giving advice to startups that want to consider having investors. What are some of the things that you would suggest and recommend that they identify in an investor to determine whether or not it's a good fit?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, do they understand your business, right? A lot of times I think investors come in with expectations that, oh my God, this company is going to be $1 billion company. And not every company is meant to be that way. So a lot of founders, including Anik and I, we're very humble about the way that we think about our business, right? We know that TrueFan, in my opinion, it definitely has the potential down the road to be something massive. But is that $1 billion? Probably not. And that's something that both Anik and I know. We're totally willing to play in that ballpark. And when we go and convey that to investors, it actually builds trust with them because they also know coming in what the expectations should be. So that's one, is somebody that knows your business and their expectations are being managed. And the second thing is, do they have some sort of experience in the industry that you're targeting, whether it's around selling or building the product or hiring people that you can benefit from? Because again, an investor isn't somebody hopefully that just puts in money. It's somebody also at the same time that's helping you grow as you continue to go along with the company.
And you continue throughout your work and worth is to, one of the things that you do is to share your experiences in entrepreneurship and marketing, and you spread that via content. So some of the things that you talk about, that you're contributing to the Forbes Coaches Council, and you have your podcast and your social media platform. So the information and the knowledge and the nuggets that you share, what is it centered around? And what can you say regarding investing as it relates to that?
I think that the biggest thing is, try as much as possible to know that an idea is not enough, especially in today's age. I think what's more important is how you execute on that idea. So I think a great idea can be great, but it won't ever leave the room that you've thought about it in unless you go out and do something about it. And so I think more likely than not, at least Fitzgerald perspective of even being on the other side, I've seen really bad ideas successful because of the fact that the person running that bad idea was just amazing and they were able to execute on that idea really well. So that's one, to just pay attention more to execution than the idea, especially in the early stages. Know that you don't have to have everything figured out, and that as you continue to go along the journey, you will figure things out a lot more. And then the second thing is, again, this kind of goes back to networking, but I do believe in that cliche statement that your net worth is your network. I think you should prioritize that as much as possible. I think you should try to interview people, have a podcast, or have a written series on LinkedIn or Medium where you're able to go out and interview people, because I think more people are likely to say yes to meeting you if you interview them than if you ask for coffee. So if you go and interview them and you build a relationship that way, that's something that I think is great for networking, which can come to help you if you're raising money, looking for a job or whatever.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm interviewing you now, and I didn't reach out for coffee, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, Swish, you talked about something really important. It may seem very, simple, but it's very important. Idea is not enough. I mean, I normally say that an idea is a dime a dozen, and it's not really about the idea, really. It's about the execution and how do you, gather your team or you get others to buy into your vision, that kind of a thing. So it really is about the idea, and you've brought that home. Now we want to bring it back because I wanted to tie that to the whole idea of the right investor for your business, because you make a pitch, right, to an investor and they don't buy into your idea, is all lost. Should we start crying and decide, oh my goch, my idea isn't worthy? Yeah.
Just go to someone else. That's my big thing is, a lot of times the one question I used to get a lot in the last 3-4 years is, hey, Swish, when you're pitching your company, isn't it weird going and pitching older people? Like, don't they just see you as a 20, 21, 22-year-old and think you might not know anything? And my answer to that always was, if that is the feeling that somebody's looking at me and thinking that my age is, some sort of representative of the knowledge that I have and the expertise that I have in a given field, then I'm just going to go and find someone else, because there are a lot of adults in the world that don't see age in that way. So that's the same thing with raising money, I think. If somebody comes and, you talk to them, you tell them your idea, you give them the vision, obviously I think it's worth hearing their feedback. But if they're just shitting on your idea and they're making you feel bad and they're not giving you the time and day to really explain yourself, then move on to someone else, because there's a lot of investors, especially at the angel level, that are willing to hear cool ideas from people that are really, really passionate about the thing they've come up with.
Absolutely. And you have done some very amazing things, in your life. And, I'm really proud of you, and proud of the opportunity that I have to speak with you. Now, speak of I think you alluded to it earlier, but I just want to get a little more clarity in terms of the values, right? I know you talk about understanding of the business and managing expectations and so on, but how important is the value of an entrepreneur? And I'm not talking monetary value, but just your core values, right? To that an investor and it being a match.
Yeah, I think, values for me mainly stem around loyalty. And so I normally like investors, obviously, that come on board and are loyal to the company. And that's actually why one of the things we do is make sure that if you're an investor in TrueFan, you can't be an investor or an advisor in any other analytics company, because we want you to be very loyal to our company. And so that's kind of the main value that I think we emphasize. Beyond anything else, obviously, we do want transparency. We want you to communicate your thoughts. If you're unhappy, we want you to tell us right away, as opposed to waiting and letting that resentment boil up. And those are also values that we have within our team internally. Every employee knows that they can come to Anik and I and tell us what's going on and what they like and what they don't like. And we're going to be very receptive to that.
And even as you talk about your co-founder, it's Anik, right? Your co-founder.
Yes.
How similar are both of you?
Anik and I are similar in some ways, in the sense that both of us, I think we work pretty hard. We're very passionate about the work that we do. We're very family oriented as well. I think Anik and I are different in some ways where, this is a little funny, but he's very nature oriented, coming obviously from Vancouver, and it's beautiful. And I've been kind of a city boy my whole life, just downtown, and I don't get to see mountains and beautiful trees all the time. So my appreciation for it, my appreciation for it hasn't been the greatest, but it is actually going up, and a big reason for that is Anik. And I think the second thing is he's a very hybrid model of a founder, and he's actually in my opinion, the ideal founder these days, because whereas I have no technical experience and I can't even talk to a developer for like 5 minutes without making myself look like an idiot, he can have an incredible conversation with our dev team, and he can understand what they're building. He can understand what their problems are. He always says that he's not the person that can go and build an app for you, in the sense of he wouldn't go and build out your product, because it would take him way too long. But he is the person that can go and inspect it, make it better, make it more efficient. So he's a really good hybrid, because he not only brings that technical understanding, but he brings that business understanding as well. And that's a big difference between us two.
Right. And so it is, I asked a question to drive home the fact that, as you're working together as co-founders together, then you may not necessarily have the same personality traits and the same strength. In fact, you don't want that. You perhaps want people who can complement each other, because that's going to be important to take the business forward.
Yeah, 100%. And I think more and more people are recognizing that. I feel like, I don't know, at least for me, like, I don't know what I would do without having a co-founder, because there's a lot of things and a lot of skills that they bring that I think, if they compliment you, they respect you, they make you a little better.
And very random, almost silly question that came into my head, right? Just say, for example, you started a business 10 years ago. Is it too late 10 years in to have a co-founder?
I don't think so. I think the big thing that you want, especially if you have a co-founder that late, though, is to make sure that coming in, they know the work that you've done within 10 years. So the compensation that they get on both the salary and an equity level should be reflective of that. If you came in from day one and you started it together, it should be 50-50. If you started at 10 years and then the co-founder came then I think the split should be different.
Oh, okay. I like that. I like that answer. All right. Okay. So in our final moments, Swish, I'm going to ask you to share with my community, someone who is listening right now and they are, oh my gosh, kind of scratching their heads. Oh, I'm starting this business. It's so hard. I need investment capital for my business. Just give some practical advice and tip for this person.
Yeah, I think there are two things. One is, if you're creating a company, don't plan for too long. A lot of people plan for way too long in the initial part of coming up with an idea. And the issue with that is you'll either jinx yourself out of the idea, or the opportunity, like the market opportunity, will go away. And somebody else will take the idea, or the idea won't be popular anymore. The second thing I think is, as much as possible, be modest about what you expect from the company, and make sure to reflect that modesty when you go about pitching your company to investors. So in your financial projections, in your vision statement, be modest and try to manage expectations. It's always better to underpromise and overdeliver. And that's a principle that you should think about even when pitching an investor on your company.
As you talked about in your first point, not delaying on your idea, I keep thinking, when I hear stuff like that, I keep thinking about the 5-second rule that Mel Robbins talk about. And I like to say that the further the distance between ideation and execution is a possible likelihood that it's not going to be an execution at all, right? If you delay too long. And Mel Robbins put it nicely that your brain, if you stay beyond 5 seconds to execute, to start doing something to execute, your brain will trick you out of it. So it's very important that we make that decision to start. Once we've had this idea and we believe it's a great idea, it's important to start, because that's the only way, once we start, we have momentum, and momentum is what will keep us going.
Yeah, 100%.
So I
agree with that.
Absolutely. I know that as we talk about, getting an investor for our businesses and making sure that our businesses are ready for investment, part of that requires that, we cannot, there's no going around social media platforms. And so I know in our pre-interview, communication, you did indicate, Swish, that you have a best practices guide on every major platform. Yep. Right. So if you share that information with us, and also share how might our peak performer community get in touch with you.
More than happy to. I'll definitely send that over to you, and you can put it in a download link in the show notes.
Absolutely. So stay tuned to that, guys. It will be in the show notes, of course. So I am really, really happy. Now, share with us, Swish, how we might get in touch with you.
Yeah, so LinkedIn, Swish Goswami, SWISH, and then Goswami. That would be the best way to definitely reach out to me. And then beyond that, I would say Instagram at GoSwish at GOSWISH. That would be another great way too.
Okay, awesome. And it has been a pleasure, Swish, speaking with you. I have been speaking with Swish Goswami, and your journey has been quite inspirational to me and all your accomplishments. And I'm really happy that I had the opportunity to speak with you.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
And thank you, my peak performer, for tuning in to this episode with Swish Goswami. I truly look forward to connecting with you next week. In the meantime, I am inviting you to join me for one-on-one coaching to create a strategic advantage to drive your business, improve your personal life, and just have the professional breakthroughs that you need and deserve. Coaching with me will allow you to move from stock to unstock. So if you want to sign up, just visit Heneka.Watkis-Porter.com and send me a WhatsApp message letting me know that you are interested in having me coach you. So there is a WhatsApp icon on my homepage or whichever page that you go, and you'll be able to send me a direct message which comes to my phone. Remember, you were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. Walk good.